Good day, learners. Welcome to Biology with Omotayo. Welcome to the third lesson under the topic Introduction to Biology. And before us today is the subtopic Characteristics of Living Things. Okay, characteristics of living things. Characteristics of living things is a well-known topic in biology. However, we'll be looking at it from a more informed angle so as to demystify some gray area where students are having issues with. So, 1, we are having living things. That simply means we do have non-living things as well. So, a quick one. How do we differentiate? For living things, they have unique qualities that enable us to be able to come to the conclusion that they are living things. And such qualities include the presence majorly of water and carbon as part of their components. Water and carbon. They are basically made up of water and carbon. Secondly, they are made up of cells, either as unicellular or as multicellular organism, in whichever form, either as filaments or cells existing as colony or multiple of cells. Next, for living things, they are always in high demand of energy. So, with the presence of water and carbon, and then the presence of cells, as well as the high demand of organism, conclusion can be reached that whatever is being examined is a living thing. Now, characters of this said living thing. As I've said much earlier, it's a well-known topic right from elementary classes. However, we will be adding a few more details to help demystify gray areas. There's a well-known mnemonic, Mr. Niger D. Mr. Niger D. However, for this study, we won't be having just Mr. Niger D. We will rather be having Mr. Niger Dark. Come along with me and we'll get to see what the A and the C stands for. Starting with the first letter, hem. Our hem here simply means movement. It is expected that living organisms should be able to move. That is, they should be able to change position. And movement from place to place is known as locomotion. However, the type of movement that is experienced by living organisms vary because we have what we call a taxis movement. This is a movement that involves complete whole movement of the body, complete change in location from point A to point B. We equally have another form of movement called nastic. This is a type of movement that involves moving in a non-directional way. However, position maintained. It is called a nastic movement. After that, we equally have what we call a tropic movement. Tropic movements are growth movements, usually associated with plants. So, what is experienced here is that there is a growth either in response positively to a desired stimuli or a growth away from a non-desired stimuli. So as I've said, under our movement here, we have taxis, we have nastic, and we have tropic. This will be further looked at in subsequent studies. After our M, we have the R. R stands for respiration. Respiration simply is biological reactions in cells that lead to the breakdown of nutrients and enables the release of energy. In fact, in a single word, respiration simply means energy. Yes, because all that is concerned with respiration is a biochemical breakdown of nutrients to ensure that energy is released for living organisms to carry out their metabolic activities. And a quick one, remember, anytime we are talking about metabolism, we are making reference to both catabolism and anabolism. Catabolism, breaking down processes. Anabolism, building up processes. Combination of these two gives us metabolism. And metabolism can only be reached when living organisms have energy to drive such a process. So, respiration can be aerobic or anaerobic. So, for the aerobic respiration, then oxygen is involved, while for the anaerobic respiration, oxygen is not involved. And in plants, the anaerobic respiration do produce ethanol or alcohol, as the case may be, as one of its products, while in animals, lactic acid is being produced. And take note as well, for aerobic respiration, it does occur in two stages. The first stage, we call it glycolysis, while the second is called the Krebs cycle. Glycolysis do take place in the cytoplasm. It involves the splitting of glucose, which is a 6 carbon sugar, into 2 molecules of 3 carbon sugar. That's all that happens under glycolysis. Now, these 2 molecules of 3 carbon sugar will progress into the Krebs cycle and will be further broken down until we are able to obtain a larger proportion of ATP. ATP, that is the form in which biological energy is stored in living organism. So we'll make progress to the next letter, which is N. And for our N, we have nutrition. Nutrition. Nutrition is simply the process of taking in enriched materials for derivation of energy, also for growth and for development. Taking in enriched materials, okay, so that energy can be derived, growth can be obtained, development can be obtained. In animals, we have what we do call heterotrophic nutrition. Heterotrophic nutrition. And then for plants, we do have what we call autotrophic nutrition. Now, heterotrophic simply means that organisms here are dependent on ready-made food. You will agree with me that animals do depend on readily made foods. While autotrophic here simply means organisms in question here have the ability to synthesize their own food, mostly using photosynthetic processes or probably chemosynthetic processes. So quickly we move to the next. High. Irritability. Sometimes also being referred to as sensitivity. It is the ability of an organism to respond to stimuli. Stimuli are changes in the environment of an organism. So the ability of an organism to respond to changes in its environment is referred to as irritability. We move on to G. Growth. Growth is a permanent, irreversible increase in the size or dry mass or weight of an organism, it is irreversible. There is an increase that is irreversible with regards to an organism. For plants, growth usually is apical and it is continuous. It is asymmetrical. And then for animals, growth is always terminal. It is not asymmetrical, no, it is symmetrical, and it is compact. It is also diffused. Permit me to come again. For plants, it is apical, it is asymmetrical, it is continuous. For animal, it is diffused, it is terminal, it is symmetrical, and it is compact. So, usually, for growth to be observed, we do have increase in cell size or increase in cell number. And usually, these do progress into differentiation of cell. So, we do have cell multiplication, cell enlargement, cell differentiation. We move next to excretion. Excretion. Excretion is the process of removing waste products of metabolism from an organism. It is the process of removing toxic material from an organism. It is the process of removing substances that are in excess from an organism. So, take note. Excretion always deals with the removal of metabolic waste products. That is the reason why our feces is not being referred to as an excretory product. In fact, it is not too good to refer to it as excrement or excreta. Actually, the act is the act of defecating, because what we are passing out is undigested components of the food taken in. The digestive tract is an extracellular component of the organism. So, the residue of the food never went into the cell, and so the undigested portion that is being released through the anus never went into the cell. So it cannot be referred to as a metabolic waste. So it is better said that I want to defecate. Okay. Next, we go to the next R, which is reproduction. Now, reproduction simply deals with the making of more of an organism of same kind. Making of more of an organism of same kind. This may be through sexual or asexual processes. Take note, it may be through sexual or asexual processes. For sexual processes, the simplest form of sexual reproduction is referred to as conjugation. Conjugation. This is the simplest form of sexual reproduction, and usually it involves the fusion of gametes from two parents of opposite gender. While for the asexual, this leads to the bringing forth of offspring from just a singular parent. So here, a singular parent is involved. Now, we are done with Mr. Niger. We'll be going to the later end, the dark. So, what does it mean? The D simply means death. The end of life of a living organism. However, Before concluding with just death, there is a "hey" that means adaptation. Adaptation is the ability of living organisms to adjust to changes in their environment so as to be able to ensure survival and reproduction. You will agree with me that this is an inborn attribute of virtually all living organisms. There is an inborn ability to naturally adjust to changes in the environment to ensure first instinct survival and then afterward reproduction. For the C, competition. Competition, simply put, is the ability of an organism to struggle for the necessities of life. Ability of an organism to struggle for the necessities of life. For competition, we have two main types. We have the intraspecific and the interspecific. Well, for intraspecific competition, it is a competition between organisms or among organisms of same species. So when you have competition between rats, then what you are having is intraspecific competition. However, where the competition is between organisms of different species, probably between man and a rat, in that case, what you are having is interspecific competition. Hello, learners. If you have any question with regards to this first aspect of characteristics of living things that have been examined today, kindly drop your questions at the comment section. They will be responded to. See you next class. Thank you. From the intricate working of the cells to classification of living things,